Hey, folks, welcome back to the program. This is Chris live in Central Pennsylvania with my guest. This is the guy that a few years ago, somebody said, are you paying attention to this UIM? I said, yeah, I heard there's a new party. And they said that one of my favorite soapy stars was affiliated with it. And I said, really? And they said, yeah, but you should check out this guy as the leader of the party. And I said, who is it? And I said, Neil de Beer. I said, isn't that the guy that everybody hates? I mean, Afrikaners hate him because he betrayed South Africa, and the ANC hates him because of the ANC. And they said, yeah, that's the guy. I said, okay, sounds interesting. And I had Neil on. We talked, and it's developed into, Neil, dare I say, a friendship. We've become friends, I think, over the past few years, and I value you as a friend. It's also, when you launched the UIM's campaign, you were the first party to do so, and you invited me to Tigerberg, and I covered it. And I got a lot of grief for that. People are like, why are you talking to Neil de Beer? You can't be trusted. I'm like, the guy's newsworthy. You know, he's got stuff to say. You don't have to like him. You can like him, but he's newsworthy. And Neil, it's been a long road since then. You're a counselor in Cape Town now. It's still leading the UIM, going through a lot of stuff, but you've been a voice. People loving you on business. We haven't had a chance to chat since you and I had a coffee just a few weeks back in Gordons Bay. But how are you today, Neil? Well,
as long as you keep going on with the Afrikaans, dat gaan goed. Winter here with us, and go Bokke.
Yeah, no, hey, listen, that's another thing. A lot of people don't know Neil's background. You were with the under-20 team back in the day, weren't you? Weren't you involved with that?
Yeah, I was part of the management of the junior Bokke, the under-21 Springboks, which won a World Cup.
Yes,
in 2005 in Argentina.
You know? Do you have a medallion or
yes.
Yeah, you got a World Cup medal.
Each one got a gold medal, and my Springbok blazer, it's there. But like you, passion about rugby is something that links every single human being that loves the game, because it's a game that transcends language, and the camaraderie that I got through being at SA Rugby was just tremendous, and moments I will never forget.
No doubt about it, and that stuff stays with you today, including those young bucks now who are old bucks now. They're a little bit older these days. But speaking of that, hey, I assume you'll be watching Saturday's test match. That one's being in Geberghe, Port Elizabeth, down near Nelson Mandela Bay. The Springboks, who had exciting moments, but weren't exactly in fine form against Italy. The Italians, who didn't bring most of their top flight players, really played out of their minds the second half in that game. And I think the Springboks have something to prove on Saturday against the Les Azures.
Yeah, I don't think the period of time of playing the Azzurri and playing Italy is just a warm-up match anymore. Rugby has transferred itself from a small, petite entities of clubs playing provinces, playing national, to an international game. And when you look at the people playing for the different teams, many of them play together in season in Europe, so the tactic of the game has changed in the sense of every single body is playing internationally and is getting that experience against an opponent that also has that experience. So I don't think it's a game that we're going to have to shut our eyes. Rashi is a rugby genius. He is a tactician par excellence. And I think he's going through the mill now to make sure that the total squad that he pulled up, that every single one will have game time so that he can plot and plan the next battle, and knowing Rashi, his head is rushing.
Yeah, no. Rossi's kind of like me. He's not looking at today or tomorrow. He's looking at next year, 5 years down the road, where we're at. He's a long-term visionary guy, and that's really awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the game this weekend. I think that the Bucks have a lot to prove. Of course, the squad was strong last weekend. Some people are calling it B team. I'm looking at there's 11 starting Springboks were in that team last week. I wouldn't call that a B squad. I would just say that they didn't flow well. They had a lot of knock-ons that were unnecessary, particularly early on. It kind of messed up the flow. But there were some really exciting tries in that game. And but the Italians fought with grit. It was nice to see that. And I agree with you. It's no longer a walkover. When the Italians come to town, you better take it seriously. That's like the British and Irish Lions, I don't think, took Argentina seriously a few weeks back, and they lost that game.
Yeah, you can't sit back. But it's like life. If you sit back and you don't plan and you do not match and strategize, you'll get nowhere. Chris, coming from the military, we understand that. If I always got a a saying from our leadership in the military was, if a plan changes, the plan's off. So you've got to plan, you've got to make sure it's ready, but just the feeling that our rugby, our cricket teams, our soccer teams are doing so well, yet the country is still under bad management, Chris.
Well, not to get away from the topic here, but I just want to say very quickly, just, to encourage you from some stuff in the chat here. So Desmond says, I used to be in the South African Police Department. I used to hate Neil, but since he left the ANC, I grew to liking him. And then we have here, Tommy says, I love this guest, smart man. Well, I think that's universal at this point. Neil, we talked about this, not to go too much depth in it, but, when I first interviewed you a few years back, and I put that question to you, and you answered it directly. I'm like, why should people trust you? And, you did this, you betrayed South Africa, why you betrayed the ANC? And you said to me, Chris, I did those things. That's who I was. And this is who I am, and this is where I'm going. And I love that. And I think that says a lot about people, that we're honest, we own up to who we are, what we've done in life, and where we're going. And I think a lot of people have a lot of respect for you and have really enjoyed your, I don't want to say appearance, or maybe reemergence on the scene since you founded the UIM. I think it's really inspired a lot of people, and we'll see where it goes from here. A lot of people more people over here excited to see it tonight. Neil, I hate to drag you in here because I know you've had health issues lately, but people pester me almost every damn day. Where's Neil DeBeer? You should talk to Neil DeBeer. And I have a lot of new subscribers because I went over that 100,000 mark. And a lot of these people, hey, Chris, you should really get Neil DeBeer on your program. Are you serious? Neil and I are on all the time.
Yeah, it's a humble privilege, Chris, to daily be able still to get up and say what I have to say. You get wiser, you get older, and you get a little bit more astute on the scenarios that are happening around you. We call it optics. I was part of the apartheid government. I served in the defense force of the apartheid government. I went to war. I got my Pro Patria medal for service on the border. I worked as an agent within the policing structures of the apartheid government. But there came a time where our own political leaders were selling us out, where they were the cowards. I took an opportunity to ensure that I can look at this new entity that's going to become the leadership. And it was a simple question. Who are they going to listen to when Nelson becomes the president? So I took that strategic decision. I went in there. Apartheid was removed. And we went on, and we have been carrying on for 30 years. But suddenly, Chris, about 6 years ago, I realized that the same party that I joined to liberate this country is now trying to unliberate us, if that is a word even. And there's no people that hate me. There's no people that love me. There's people that have an opinion about me, but they've never had a cup of coffee with me. So, those that spew hate against me, those are the people that are not my friends because they haven't taken the time to see me or meet me. But that is the persona, because you get the same, my friend.
Oh, yes.
So, dit is 'n ongelooflike voorreg om te beklei vir my land. It is an unbelievable privilege to sit here and to be able to tell you that my voice is now a voice that's heard. Just on business, we every single week clock 100,000. And the reason the people listen to me is not because I am any much better leader than anyone. The only difference is I'm not scared to take them on. I am not scared to stand back, and I'm not scared to tell them where they are wrong. And if that is still on my conscience to assist Chris in changing this country, I will do it until the last of my breath.
It's brilliant. And Neil, not only are you afraid to take them on, but you also do it in such a colorful and dynamic way that really makes it interesting. Even I think people that don't speak Afrikaans, when you go off in council in Afrikaans, I think people are like, wow, this is switched on. But Charmaine just paid you a wonderful compliment. I want to read it. Whatever Neil did and now does stems from a profound love for South Africa and all its people. I think that's a true statement. I think at the end of the day, in our kit bag, I think that's a true statement about you, Neil. It's a profound love for South Africa and it's all its peoples.
Yeah, I love my country. I have served, can I say it, all sides.
Yeah, that's true.
And at the end of the day, I'm the last white South African that comes from Umkhonto we Sizwe and the SA military and SA politics in general that can sit here and go, I've had a satellite view and I'm looking at my country and I'm going, we are damned. We are going to be more doomed than damned if the revelations and the revelations are coming out now in the couple of past week of our policing structure, of our military. Chris, we are in dire straits as a country. And until South Africans have not understood global politics, because politics is global. Mm-hmm. Geopolitics is a must. So when you sit on your ass and you say, I'm not going to get involved, what it means is that for every single one person in this country that does not get up and resist and fight draconian laws and also the reputation of this country, it means that you're adding value to the enemy, which clearly is the ANC to me.
100%. So, Neil, with that, you are incredibly busy with so much going on in life, with your responsibilities, also with the health and things going on. We've wanted to talk for some time, but not been able to schedule it. And originally, I wanted this to be about the tariffs. But before we get to the tariffs, you just hit the nail on the head. What is going on in South Africa? We have Mkhwanazi revealing WhatsApp messages which appear to implicate the police commissioner in dissolving the anti-assassination unit task team that was put together and using political influence. And then on top of that, we have 13 SANDF members now indicted or charged criminally with the assassination of the Hawks officer and these murders going on. This is insane. This is the sort of stuff you expect to find in Kinshasa in 1967, not in South Africa in 2025. Neil, this is, I said it, it's not a prediction, but I did say it this week, and I'm going to make a video about this. Is this scandal with Senzo Mkhunu, will this be Cyril Ramaphosa's Stalingrad? Is this the end? Is it? I don't know. I'm not predicting that, but at some point, even members of the ANC, NEC have to go, this guy he's too much of a liability. We got to do something, because this is this Cyril's? Is this his Watergate? Is this his Waterloo? I don't know. I'm not saying it is, but this. I don't think we can overstate how big a deal this is, Neil. I don't think enough attention is being paid to it, even though it's all over the press. What are your thoughts on this?
It's going to become a non-starter. Nothing's going to happen.
Well, that's the bottom line with all the scandals, Neil. Oh, come on. I just built this up to something exciting, and you took all the air out of the balloon.
They will protect their own.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, that's what'll happen.
When you go through the absolute crap that this country has done to itself by a leadership that is incompetent, incapable, and the king really is naked. Now, if you look at what he has done, Cupcake Ramaphosa, we are running out of insults for this guy. He doesn't, insults bash off this guy. His Watergate should have been admitting to the fact that he was part of state capture. His Watergate should have been when they acknowledged the Zondo Commission. His Watergate, the stealing of 500 billion, the collapse of SOEs. Nothing seemingly embarrasses this country anymore, and its leadership. And it's us that sit here every day. And I'll tell you something very, very clearly now. And you are bloody right. I am your friend. We don't share many values in the sense of maybe sometimes tactic or strategy or politics. But one thing you and I agree on is that just between you and I, a South African and an American, who has known each other now for a couple of years and spent a lot of time together in the harshest times of this year. We get on, Chris. You and I get on because we trust each other. We know our ethics, we know our morals, and we know our standings. And that's the problem with this government of today. They have no morals, no standings, and they have absolutely no manners. Now, that is it. If you miss détente, if the détente between people, because if you lose it, then you've lost the battle. The only bloody job they had to go do was go to the United States of America, and eat bloody humble pie, tell the truth, say we're sorry, this is wrong, these are the actions we're going to take, and then we will go from an equal playing field. They even stuffed that up. They failed saving us the dreaded 30, and then Donald gives us another 10 bullet points of going off the field with a yellow card because we just bought a brick.
Yeah, that's right, because you're playing the bricks. You didn't bring the Brom squad in, you brought the brick squad in and got an extra 10% yellow card. My goodness. Yeah, no, look, one thing I'd add to that, Neil, is that one thing we do share, and actually our values do align very closely in our politics. I think we just, to get people riled up, we discuss some of these things. But there's also, I would argue, mutual respect. We respect each other, and that's something that's lacking in South African politics. Yeah.
Well, you always ask yourself, when I entered politics naively 5 years ago in the 21 elections, then being granted the opportunity by voters to be voted in, and then getting seats in 3 metros and running that for a couple of years now, one starts to understand politics. And when you look at it, you're amazed. I mean, we are sitting on a time bomb at the end of the day, where we are closer to day zero than what we think. And if what is happening today, I mean, just listen to what you and I are saying. Assassins.
Yeah. Murder
groups. Task teams to kill people. Chris, this is Colombia.
Yeah. Kidnapping.
This is Colombia.
Kidnapping.
Colombia is worse.
Everywhere, kidnapping. Yeah.
Politicians. So I wake up in South Africa, Chris, where I sometimes, and luckily I meet you and we talk, I'm not insane. This is happening. And, we are building up to a crescendo that it's only going to go 2 ways, Chris. It's going to go the right way or the wrong way. If it's going to go the right way, it better happen quickly. If it's going to go the wrong way, then we better be prepared. Because, I mean, in the province I stay, the Western Cape, which is still one of the few provinces that get clean audits, I am, as you say, a councillor of the city of Cape Town, and I am deeply involved in law enforcement oversight in this city. And if you look at people that I work with, they're also not liked. Yet they do their job. People like JP Smith, who gets flack like he cannot believe. And I have an opinion about JP, and I work with him because I believe that he is good in what he does. But then the character assassinations must start to happen. And if it rots at municipal level, Chris, it's definitely not going to make it, because your municipality, your local government, is the meat and potatoes, and we're not getting it done.
Yeah, Neil, I have to say, look, I know who J.P. Smith is. I'm familiar with his portfolio, but I'd never really seen him on camera or interact. But Joe Emilio's Stolen Ground documentary, which I previewed before it was published, really introduced me in a way to J.P. Smith that I'd never seen. I'm really impressed by him. I'd love to interview him at some point, because he really seems to care. I mean, maybe I've read that wrong, but he seems to care. And
no, he does. Yeah. No, he does. He does. I know it. But why I bring his name in is because here's a scenario which I wanted to tell you. If we don't get law enforcement right at city level, or at provincial level, or national, they're all tied into one chain, and that is law and order. We, as the city of Cape Town, has started a request for devolution of power So just to explain that, that is asking national government to give us, as the city of Cape Town, which I serve, more rights in investigations to take the pressure off national policing. And people are saying no and no. Now you can see. Now you can see why people like us that sit at metro level, why we want to have more powers, because 2 days ago we heard that the people that were supposed to give us the investigative processes are now allegedly corrupt. So in every department that I can mention to you, it's cracking, it's falling apart. Such a beautiful country, Chris. Such a beautiful people. En vragtig, hulle donder dit op. They are, and I don't know the motive. Or is it that saying, Chris, maybe you can help me, where they said that you get emperors that are willing to reign over ashes rather than surrender or acknowledge that they are wrong?
Well, you're right. And Neil, you know, you and I had a coffee recently, and I let this secret out, so I don't think you mind. But I said, I talked to Neil, and I said, you know, I'm trying to struggle to understand why these decisions are made. I mean, I get when people do it for, you know, get their fingers in the till and stuff like that. But some of these own goals are just so stupid. They're not own goals. They're digging their own graves. And I said, I mean, are they just that stupid? And Neil, you said, yeah, Chris, they're just that dumb. They're
dumb. No, they're absolutely idiot. Idiot doesn't know he's an idiot.
I think you're right about that. But okay, so Neil, I've wanted to chat with you a while. Like I said, you're very busy, all the stuff going on, and so we haven't had a chance to talk since May when the circus came to town in Washington D.C. So I just want to share one of my favorite lines from this. I've never seen this before, Mr. President. Did they tell you where this is? And Trump says, it's in South Africa.
Yeah, no. That was like a ding dong.
I mean, come on. Like we know that Ramaphosa saw that.
It's like taking a flat non-stick pen and hitting you on the head. He didn't know it's in his own country. Now, you know, I have assaulted this man's character as much as what I can, but unfortunately, you come to a point where you make up your mind that it just goes over. So we are sitting with serious problems. And you can paint a zebra any color you want, Chris. It's coming black and white.
I think that's a story at the other day. But Neil, I mean, seriously, let's go back to that meeting. I mean, not only did the needle not move in a positive direction, in my view, in public, it clearly moved in the wrong direction and put South Africa on the back foot. And I know, and I said at the time, because I covered that broadcast live, I said, when they go behind closed doors, they're getting a PK. And then we saw Cyril come out and try to pretend like things are okay, but he was clearly shaken. And then here's the thing that was so telling for me, Neil. Whenever a meeting like that takes place in Washington, the leaks come out. Somebody in the administration talks about it, says something, but not one peep from any official, including Elon Musk, who was in that private meeting behind closed doors. The first indication we got of anything is the ANC coming out and Ramaphosa saying, oh, it went well, we've reset the relationship, things are going great. And then the other thing was that we just saw that Cornel Mulder went to the States and he was given a list of things that they were shared with in that meeting. But it's very telling to me that the United States has not disclosed the content of that meeting. It's rare that this level of discipline it takes place, because we've seen lots of leaks in the government, particularly when Trump was in office last time, when Biden was in office. So that whole thing, to me, I think that the delegation, they got smacked about the head pretty hard. It's like Chuck Norris was in the room just giving them a lesson.
They had no viable options. They had no counter options. The only options they could give them was the fact that they would work hard on ensuring that this would happen or that would happen. Donald Trump doesn't give a toss. Donald Trump doesn't give a toss. That's a word we used to use here as a kind of a slang for doesn't give a hell. But anyway, he doesn't. He wants four things. That's it. And at this moment, let's be honest, Chris, like we always are, they can't meet that.
No.
ANC cannot meet it. They can't withdraw the land. They can't withdraw things like the Bella Act, the acknowledgement of Hamas. and the friendship with Iran. And they cannot walk out of BRICS. We are bloody founder. So the point of view is, in any negotiation, you must have a trump card. We didn't have it.
Well, not only did he not have a trump card.
He's dealt a severe blow to us, Chris.
I think that they had the dead man's hand, aces and eights.
Yeah, and then the quick draw didn't come.
Exactly. Yeah. No. This was, to me, what was embarrassing was the whole situation. But what I thought was even more embarrassing was the effort by legacy media in South Africa to pretend that this went well. And then all this stuff about Trump ambushed them. Trump didn't ambush them. If Trump wanted to embarrass Ramaphosa, he would have shown footage of Ramaphosa doing things like saying, hey, he would put a video up there of Ramaphosa saying, I don't know what Trump knows about South Africa, but he can keep us America, we'll keep our South Africa. Or just that week, the nonsense that was stated about the U.S. foreign policy by senior members of the ANC government. They could put, but what he put up there was videos of people not in the ANC, not part of the ruling government. You had Julius Malema in the EFF, former ANC Youth League, but not ANC. You had Jacob Zuma, who sang "Kill the Boer" as president of the Republic, but not in the ANC. Now he's with MK. So Trump was very generous, in my view, and very diplomatic in not making it worse than it was. And they sit there and try to deny it and pretend it was real, and then they lie to Trump. You saw Ramaphosa say, well, we don't believe in this. It's just a minor opposition party. And the moment that he lands back in South Africa, he's like, oh, no, that's freedom of speech. You know, he can sing "Kill the Boer." That's allowed. But the Union flag can't be displayed. I mean, the hypocrisy is insane.
This is not Mandela.
No.
Just no matter your opinion on Mandela. What he was, Mandela was the miracle and the gluing factor that kept this country from civil war. Mandela's attitude of reconciliation instead of retribution was accepted by us as country folk, 100%. Now, what happened? What is more disgusting is that a man like Cyril Matamela Ramaphosa was the chief negotiating officer at CODESA.
Indeed.
There is not a single way that he cannot deny that he spent most of his life after 94 and before the election sitting present to Mandela and his philosophy, which was reconciliation. I don't care what anybody says. I know that, sincerely. But the people that took over Chris, they cut his body to shreds again every time they deny that South Africans, black and white, have right to live in our own country, be protected in our own country, and protecting of our own culture, language, and dignity. But I ask myself sometimes, Colonel Elias, are they audible? Can they read what it says? And it says that this country in the preamble of the Constitution belongs to all whom live with it, black and white. And at the end of the day, the ANC is sitting there and they are slaughtering the country's freedom, economy, and justice. And at the same time, they refer back to Mandela's opening speeches. This is ludicrous. This is ludicrous. And Chris, we are coming to the point now where we're sitting with the GNU, where decisions really have to be made. And I'm saying, take the bloody gloves off. We can still be in the GNU, we can still have a GNU, we can still continue. But the fact that the ANC is ruling under its own dream, its own cuckoo la la land, that it still rules this country, someone must get up and tell them to shut up. Shut up. And if you don't shut up, then I'm sorry, we are going to make you shut up. And how is that, Chris? We'll go to court. And that's another thing that gripes me. There is no more parliament, Chris, because it's run by court. Everything must go to court, bellable court, land with a court. Soon we will be fighting for private gun ownership, court. We are just going to stay in court, Chris. Now, what kind of country declares itself a democratic state, a capitalistic entity with free market, en dan gaan donder julle rond soos julle wil, behind our back. It doesn't justify it, and it doesn't justify the GNU sitting there and trying to keep it together. That's what the DA is doing.
Yeah,
that's what people are doing.
100% with you, Neil. That's exactly what the DA is doing here. They need to act as if they are the kingmaker. They were the kingmaker. The ANC couldn't have formed this coalition. This nonsense about a doomsday coalition. MK is not going to form an alliance with the ANC because they'll eat the ANC from the inside out with Zuma. EFF is not going to form an alliance because the ANC would not be able to handle EFF. They'd have to give a deputy president position. They would have to give ministries of substance, and then they just act. There'd be chaos. So that's not going to happen. So that was never a real reality. And the rest of the parties didn't have a sufficient number that would have aligned with the ANC to get them to 50 plus 1. So at the end of the day, as I said last year when the vote totals came out, the answer here is the DA holds all the cards, but they didn't enter the negotiations as if they held all the cards. And they're not playing as if they hold all the cards. They're playing as if, oh, thank you, sir. More soup, please, sir. Thank you for letting me come to the table. They have no ministries of consequence, none of the security cluster, not finance, not foreign relations, not justice, all the things that are broken that need to be fixed to reset the needle. The DA needs to stand up and discover they have a pair of gonads and be men and women and take responsibility for their actions. They're not doing it. I think that we are simpatico on that. I think you'd agree with me.
Yeah, I would like to put a synopsis on the table.
Okay.
Which I hope that I am not wrong. The other day I listened to Helen Zille speak at a conference. And as you know, I have walked a walk with her, and I have, no matter what anybody else says, I have high regard for Helen and what she has done in this country. She said when the elections were coming to the end and close, it was very clear that there would be a government of national unity because the ANC would not have the votes. It was then put to them to discuss it. Discussions happened. Tony Leon, Helen Zille did the negotiation. Helen told us, because I'm very hard on the GNU, but Helen said it in the following manner. We had no choice but to work our asses off, not because we were put under time and pressure for us to form a GNU, but constitutionally, Chris, there was a date that we had to swear in a president.
Yeah.
And here's the stark revelation. The night pre the elections of the president, the ANC sent back a draft copy of the agreement with several changes on it. That's the night before.
Right.
And that's the ANC's game. The ANC will throw you to the bottomless pit of idiocracy and beat you by experience. They are a revolutionary, communistic, nationalistic entity that does not believe in what we believe in, the most of us that come from where we come. I was quite shocked the other day seeing a TikTok of quite a large influencer. He's no longer an influencer in my mind because he said, they're actually communists. You only know that now. They are in a tripartite agreement with the bloody communists.
And all their senior leaders are card-carrying members of the South African Communist Party and always have been. But, Neil, I would push back against Helen's point there because there's nothing that I'm aware of in the South African Constitution that prevents a plurality government from running. They just have to get votes to pass legislation. So they could have had a vote without forming a government of national unity on a president, and then they could have asked the DA to vote with them on the proviso that we're going to work together and come up with an agreement down the road. That would be my argument, my counter argument to what Helen is saying. And I also respect Helen immensely too. Some people don't think that, but I think she was the most brilliant mayor in the world when she led Cape Town and pretty good provincial premier of the Western Cape as well. But that would be my counter argument to what Helen said there, is that you, like in many places in Europe, you have a plurality government that has to garner votes to get legislation passed. And actually, in my view, if it was a plurality government that couldn't get people to come vote with it, that's good in many respects, because that means they can't take liberty away from you. They can't pass laws without help. Anyway, that'd be my counter argument. I don't know. Does that fly?
No, it does. I mean, Chris, only those that sat in those seats behind closed doors will actually know what was the final agreement. But there could have been so many synopsises that were playing. The one we've got at the moment is the one we've got. Coalition politics is now going to be the reality of this country. I doubt if we are going to get a one-party state again.
Yeah.
I'm saying, look at the current internal implosions and explosions within the ANC. You know, O.R. Tambo said, the only people that will kill the ANC is the ANC themselves. And they're not doing too badly. So, but then we have to face the following reality, Chris. The DA, call it the PA, the Freedom Front, etc., that formed this alliance, they have to now start preparing for 2 elections in a row. They've got to get ready for local government. And then out of local government, they will have to look at what happens in 29. Now, it's very shaky at the moment, Chris. Mr. Mchunu was part of the race. His name has featured in the past 3 months of being a person who wants to run for president. Look where we are.
Yeah, well, that's not maybe going to go so well. So a couple comments, Neil, very quickly, and then a couple of points, and then I want to make a comment as I can get it back to you. First is that you said, what kind of country, basically the gist of what you're saying is what kind of country is ruled by the courts, because everything has to go to the courts in South Africa. And I would say that I feel your pain. Every time Donald Trump does something that's within his sphere as the chief executive, the left takes him to the court, and they call him unilateral and a dictator. But every time he adheres to what the court says. And here's a perfect case. In February, he issued an executive order telling all these departments in the executive branch to consider getting rid of unnecessary workers in accordance with the law, applicable law. And the left took him to court, and a lower court judge put an injunction, said he can't fire anybody. Well, here we are now, almost August. It's July, early July, and the Supreme Court said, no, he followed the law and overturned it. So I feel your pain. I'm also in a country where the people like to go to the courts to gum up the works, which is unfortunate. So that's the first thing. The second thing I wanted to say, well, I forgot the second thing now, but I know what it was. There's a question from Helen. She asked earlier about how do you cope with the circus of Parliament? Well, Neil is in the council in Cape Town, but I think he spoke or was at Parliament yesterday. So we'll get back to that. I guess the gist of that is that how do you deal with this? I think for you, Neil, this circus of Parliament actually fuels you. It drives you and motivates you to speak out. But I'll let you get to that in a second. But I just want to say one thing. Neil, have you met my white Minister of Agriculture? I can't believe he said that. He actually said that.
Well, yeah, I must be honest. I would take that from I would take that from Cyril. I laugh, Chris, on the same analogy. I was sitting when I was still totally drinking the milkshake and the Oros of the ANC. And I was in a heated debate the one day with, we had to sort out a couple of things with some very staunch white guys. And I was taken with to be there. This is years ago at Lutuli House. And it got heated. And people just, and I got heated and I said, excuse me, if you can't understand us as black people, then how must we try and understand you as white people? And the meeting went silent. And this guy is looking around and he's going, excuse me, do you know what you just said? I said, yeah, we got. He says, no. You refer to yourself as a black man. And I looked up and I went, shit, I did. I said, I'm sorry. I must have had a double.
It was a body double.
No, I think people, you start to understand. A guy told me the one day, why don't they assassinate Robert Mugabe? And I said, yeah, we got. He says, no. You refer to yourself as a black man. And I looked up and I went, shit, I did. I said, I'm sorry. I must have had a double. No, I think people, people start to understand. A guy told me the one day, why don't they assassinate Robert Mugabe? And I said, because that's not how it works. Intelligence agencies do not think just of the present quid pro quo. We look at the past and we understand the ramification of the future. So when you are in the backgrounds of being in intelligence, you cannot just think about a multitude of reactions that are spur of the moment. You have to understand the dominoes are going to fall. So I said, it is a well-known fact that if they were to assassinate or take out Robert Mugabe, the person that will replace him could be worse. Because we, you know, when you look at an enemy, you KYE, you know your enemy from top to bottom. Now you've spent millions on that. They removed this guy. Now you've got to start with a new one. So, you know, you sit in this kind of politics and you go, who's going to replace Cyril? And that's not long away, because that's 27 end.
Yeah,
now, I'm telling you,
even if he isn't taken out in a vote of no confidence, even if he's recalled by his party, he's got to go by 2027. That's the end of his time.
Well, no, he's got to go 2029.
Oh, 2029. That's his 10 years. 2029 is 10 years. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He might not make it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he might not make it, but even if he does make it, that's not far away.
No, sure. So who's the contenders? You get names like Paul Mashatile, Patrice Motsepe, Fikile Mbalula. I mean, these people really think that they are going to be the people that we're going to trust. But these are the names. And if that is so, because we have to sincerely ask ourselves that 3/4 of the people that are sitting in cabinet, that are sitting in the GNU, don't want the GNU to happen. They want to break it. So we are going into not just a critical local government election, but no, a very critical year for the ANC.
Yeah, no, I actually agree 100%. Neil, you know, listen, I've got you on. You've got other things you got to do. We've gone a little bit longer than we agreed to, because I said, can we get you 30 minutes? You kindly gave your time. We're at about 42. I don't know if you can stay a little bit longer. I don't want to keep you longer than, because you've got other things to do. But I do want to say this: the only time I get more viewers in a live stream is when I talk about refugees. It's a good audience today. We got about 2,500 watching us live, Neil. So thank you for that.
You know, just on that point.
Sure.
And I'll say it. We must, in this country, as white Afrikaners, we must now stop apologizing. Take that pipe. People are going to go, well, what? He was a MK. Yes, I was. It fitted my terminology and my ethos at that stage. I have now become a woke to wokes. I understand who these woke ideologists are. The South Africans in this country have been battered and abused. And when we talk about the Afrikaner, which I am part of, there's no other entity that is a nationality in a nation that has been as abused as us. Now, that's a debate, Chris, where people say, but you deserve it. You did this, you did that. And I'm starting to go, but that's illogic. That cannot just ride for the rest of our lives. And that's the problem when we get to the fact that we have such a great explosion on empathy and sympathy from the Donald Trump government, noticing what's going on. And no one can doubt that if it wasn't for the US, South Africa would still be a zero on the map. Everybody knows South Africa now. Everybody knows what we are fighting. But if you were to ask me what is the most laughable comment that came out of that meeting with Donald Trump, was when the president said, and he said it as if it is an accolade, he said, remember, it's not just whites being murdered, it's everybody's getting murdered. Black murder, white. And he says that on a international platform. He actually accelerates the image of negativity of this country by trying to not say it's only whites, it's everybody. My God, you go say that to the international world, thinking that that is a excuse, and then you come back and then you refute everything that you did over there. This is pathological. This is insanity. And going back to your Watergate, Chris, if these things were going on that's happening in South Africa, in any other moderate country with a good constitution, they'd be gone, sir.
Yep.
They'd be gone.
No,
this would be toppling of a government.
100%. I mean, all these things could topple a government. And then I thought the most telling thing in the whole conversation coming from South Africa is when the leader of COSATU, she said, "Yeah, no, we have crime is bad." She admitted right there that crime is a problem, but they
I don't know what
they think that saying that everybody's affected by it makes it better. It makes it worse.
Exactly. And that's where you say to yourself, I always say that I want a statesman, stateswoman, whatever you want. If you understand, you get politicians, leaders, and statesmen. We don't have it in the country.
Mm-hmm.
The closest to that I can tell you, is Corné Mulder.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I'll go along with that.
I will tell you that now, not because of his party, but I know him.
But who he is.
A better level. And I can tell you, he's a statesman.
Yep.
And everything he does, you can see he does it for his party, but he also does it for his country. 100%. We need statesmen. Cyril Ramaphosa is not a statesman. He is not. He might be a good negotiator. Hell knows where they got upon this thing that he was a good businessman. He wasn't. He got given shit. So I'm not bamboozled by that. So we need leadership. And if you look at the people that are in parliament, there are a few that I have said that, I've recognized the people I've worked with. I've worked with John Steenhuisen. There are 150,000 opinions about John. I know you have one. But I can tell you at the end of the day, I worked with him and I understand his negotiation skills on his own. At this current moment, we've got Cyril and John that are trying to keep this canoe together, but it's cracking. And at this moment, you'll see that those cracks are not going to be mended very easily.
No.
You are going to find you have to polyfiller it every second week, Chris. But it is a drastic situation that we now face the 30%. And here's my question. What did they do? What have they done? No one's been there, Chris.
No,
the person that is supposed to be the ambassador in seat is not there.
Yeah, and not even a special envoy. And Kabisi Jonas is he's still in Cape Town.
No one.
Yeah.
So who spoke on our behalf? So you've had two delegations of people that I would see are more conservative and are fighting for more the minorities. We've had two visits of that. We had the Kali Kriel one, and we had Corné. We've had the poor attempt of a presidential delegation. Chris, they all came back with one message. If we don't concede, and if we don't bend the knee, not to Donald, but to the system, we are not going to be the powerhouse as an African country that we were before.
Yeah, I think you're spot on, Neil. But I have to add this. I mean, I sleep at night with my windows open in Stellenbosch. I just thought I'd share that with you.
No, I think that was taking too many golf balls to the head. I mean, to be honest with you, half Renette.
Can I have a
plain hood?
Can I have a mulligan on that one?
Yeah. It's like the guy that wanted to tee off, and the guy over the speaker said, "You can't hit from there." And the guy said, "Shut up." He said, "Sir, you can't hit from there." He says, "It's my ball." He says, sir, I am telling you now, you can't hit from there. That is the ladies' tee. And he said, well, let you shot. It's my second shot.
My second shot. Yeah. Yeah.
So we've got to sit back and say, if we don't have humor in this country, if we didn't have a bright face, a bit of cheese and yama, goeie brandewyn and rugby, I don't think this country would be attractive anymore to many. To those that left the country, they're allowed to leave the country.
Yeah.
To those that when I heard 49 people went, I went on the same day, probably 2,500 left without us knowing as well.
Yeah, because they went to New Zealand, Australia, Canada, UK, France, China, and Japan.
It was not the narrative they wanted. They wanted the people to say we are refugees. We are not refugees. We are people that take an opportunity to better our life. How many H2A farmers are there? I know many that are saying they want to come back to their country, but they can't feed their kids. So until this country isn't conducive enough, to be safe enough, to be again palatable, we are going to struggle. And if I'm the last guy that is left in politics as it is today, I will not let them down. I will not for 1 minute let overseas people that are South Africans let them down, that we are not fighting for them here. We've got to fight, Chris. And if it means that we've got to draw the final lines in the sand, so be it. But what I do know is that everybody can see this plane is not going up. Its trajectory is crash mode.
Yeah. No, Neil, I think you're 100% correct. Can you imagine if there was a credible deterrent to crime and the taxi gangs and the construction mafia and these syndicates were dismantled and the threat to ownership of property wasn't in the way and people could live their lives and worship in the way they desire in South Africa? All the human capital that is sitting in Canary Wharf, in London, in Ottawa, in New York, in Hollywood, in New Zealand, in Australia, all that human capital, those hundreds of thousands, nay, dare I say, of the millions of South Africans currently living abroad, how many of them would gladly come back to South Africa and live their lives in the country of their birth if only so many would come back, wouldn't they?
Yeah, because there's this thing about our country. Everybody says their country is this or that. As a South African, this is a miracle country. And we've done so much. We can get it on the sports field done, but we can't get it done in the tent, which they call a parliament, which I attended yesterday. And I looked at this and I said to myself, I'm now even more determined to fight. I'm fighting for my life at the moment, not just in politics. And it's a critical fight now. It is a fight I've never had in my life like this. But one thing I can tell you is that as long as I can fight and spread the message and speak to you as a friend and speak to the world, they must not think that South Africa has surrendered yet.
Agree with 100%. Earlier in the chat, Neil, someone said something, and I paused for a moment not to repeat it, but I think now's an apropos moment. He said, Neil looks like Lex Luthor. Now, I look at that, I'm taking it from a compliment standpoint if you're a Superman fan, because Lex Luthor was a genius. So I'll take it from that angle. But with the bald pate there, he said, you look like Lex Luthor. So I think it was meant as a compliment, Neil.
I'll take any compliment that is currently available, Chris.
There you go. Neil, I'm going to give you the floor here. Anything you want to say to people, maybe a message of hope or something, a frustration, whatever you want to share. And then I'm going to ask you for a prediction about Saturday's test match. By the way, the under-20s are playing in the semifinals this week as well. So anyway, any predictions? So any final thoughts as we wrap up? And I want to thank you, Bye Donkey, for your time. It's always a pleasure, and it's great to see a smile on your face and see the fight that remains in you as you continue on. But let me give you the floor for a few moments, okay?
Ja, dis 'n groot plesier, Chris. Short and sweet. we has as a country risen many times. We've had opportunities in this country to fail again. We've had many moments in this country's history where we could have had more than just a fight in Parliament, but a fight in the streets. But there's one thing I'll tell every South African every day. When it comes and the chips are down, I believe that this country will unify, no matter the racial bound. We see it in stadiums. We see it out there where we can unite. If we are going to wait for the politicians in this country to change this country, it's not going to change. It will have to come from the civil streets. Like, we are sitting on a powder keg and we think it's just the white people in this country that's had enough. I'm telling you straight, everybody's had enough. So we must get the word out there. And if we are a rainbow nation, live it, be it. If someone throws a paper on the ground in front of you, tell them this is unacceptable. Laws are made by us in actual fact. Ons moet nie opgee nie, ons moet aanhou totdat daai dag kom. I am now more dangerous than I have ever been in my life before, because my lifetime, Chris, on Mother Earth is not going to be based on the matter of longevity. It's going to be based on God's faith and His right for me to live. But I can tell you now, we lack leadership in this country. We lack leadership that has backbone. And we lack people that will get up and tell to their face, thus far and no more. So this country has power, and it has power in its citizenry. We will never allow people like you to walk away from us, lose the interest in us, Chris. You are also a huge ambassador of this country, even if you are treated in various ways on a very wrong way. We will not allow it. We will not allow this country to go to the dogs until dogs end. We are close. Next year, we have the opportunity to muster as much support as what we can and take them out of the metros. That will be the first step. So that's my blessing to the country. It is to say, we're tougher than this, and we should see it out.
Well, Neil de Beer, that's brilliant. Again, thank you for coming on, and I don't think we can close it any better than that. You've well said, but I do have one alibi. Alibi fires on the left, on the right, and the center. Alibi fires, you may now resume firing. All right, so the target is the test match. What's your prediction? Springboks, Italy.
65-12.
Oh, that's a pretty convincing win. I was looking at maybe 55 to about 18 or something like that, but you're probably closer to the mark. I'm looking forward to the game. Of course, I'll be covering a Rugby Ascendant. Thank you for your prediction, Neil, and thank you for your time. And I have to say this: a lot of people, if the power of prayer makes a difference, a lot of people got their thoughts and prayers for you, Neil. Wishing you well and hoping for the best with your health.
Thank you so much, Chris. God bless you, and God bless the Republic of South Africa and the United States. We need blessings.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Neil, I'll let you drop off there, and I'll wrap up the broadcast from here. Folks, Neil de Beer. All right. Well, Neil, always a pleasure to have him on here. He's been so busy, been trying to get Neil back on the program for some time and hadn't been able to do it until now. So thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Those closing comments Neil had there, I'm going to capture those and make a video just of that, because that was absolutely brilliant. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks to everybody who tuned in to the broadcast. It's always a pleasure to have Neil on here. I've covered Neil ever since he founded the UIM, and it's been an interesting journey thus far for him and for everybody that's followed that organization. Thank you all. We hit a good audience today. I want to thank everybody for being here. Be sure to hit the like button if you don't mind, and we will catch you on the news here in about 15 minutes. All right, folks, that's going to do it. Cheers, and my thanks to my guest, Neil de Beer, president of the UIM. Cheers.